What would be a ballpark selling price for a residential-based company producing 3.5 million in revenue annually and a 10% net 350K?
Great question. So we can kind of talk valuations. So typically valuations are tiered. So it's going to be a multiple of the net income. And what I'm talking about is all cash at closing, right? So I'm not talking about earnouts or leaving money or second bites of the apple or all these other things that people talk about. So what I'm going to talk about now is specifically if you went to market today. So typically a company doing $1 million in sales, we would anticipate to be making somewhere around $150,000 a year. That company, because it's going to be primarily owner driven, is going to sell for somewhere around a 2-time multiple of that figure. So if they're making 150, somewhere around $300,000. Go up to a $3 million company. Use your math, 10% net, you're $3.5 million. You're making $350,000, depending on the location. There's a lot of buyer interest in different parts of the country, depending on the marketing that's there. You're probably looking somewhere at a 3 to 4-time figure, potentially up to a 5-time figure, depending on how many maintenance agreements, what your involvement is on the business, where you're located, customer base, what you're charging, online review. So there's a lot to go into that, and that's the thing. That's the thing when you're talking multiples. There's typically a range, and so depending on where that range is between 4 and 5, that's a lot of money. You know, I mean, if you're at $300,000 in net, 4 times is going to be $1.2 million, 5 times $1.5 million, and that's a huge difference in that range. And then up to $5 million, I really see a lot of variation at $5 million. I've seen a lot of $5 million companies that are netting $1 million a year. I see a lot of that. I see a lot, though, that are only making $500,000 a year. And so often buyers in the marketplace are going to pay for net, but they're also going to pay for gross. Buyers love some crumbs, right? If they're coming to buy your business and you're firing on all cylinders and you've maximized everything and you've got a salesperson in place and everybody's got a maintenance agreement, you've done all these things, there's not a lot for them to come in there and fix. So they're not willing to pay as much. So that's often back to my multiple. You hear these people talk about, oh, I got this crazy multiple and multiple. Well, if they weren't making any money, if you're doing $3 million a year in sales and you're only making $150,000 and somebody gives you, a 10-time multiple, well, you made $1.5 million. It's not that great. So if you're profitable and then you get a positive multiple, then it becomes a better thing. So I hate to be so vague. Without knowing where you're located, the breakdown of your business, you'd be looking somewhere to 3 to 5 times would be real. So hopefully that answers your question.